Welcome back, friends. Wow. Damn. A lot of stuff going on in New York baseball. Injuries galore. Injuries galore. All right. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, folks, so you're going to want to stick around. First, let me ask a question, and this is specifically geared toward the non Mets and non Yankees fan. So listen up. This question is for you and comment below. All right. In 2025, if your team is looking to face either the Mets or Dodgers, which team are you more afraid of? More afraid of the Mets or the Yankees? All right, folks, and be serious. I know if you're serious, and tell me which fan of a team you are. If you're a Dodgers fan, Braves fan, whatever you are, let me know which team, which lineup are you more afraid of. Because I'm telling you this right now, folks. I am telling you this. First of all, I think it's fairly obvious there's an epidemic in baseball amongst starting pitchers specifically. Yeah, relievers get hurt too, but the starters are getting hurt at an astronomical rate, in my opinion. I mean, the Mets, I looked it up, in the last 10 years, the Mets have had 98 injuries to their starting pitchers in spring training alone. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, anytime you see an injury, and the latest injury I'm going to refer to is Gerrit Cole. Yeah, he got injured, folks. And you know what? Every New York Mets fan who are saying, well, that's the New York Yankees. Folks, this has a monumental effect on baseball in general, specifically the New York Mets. For many reasons. For many reasons. All right, folks. Before we get into the rest of my introduction, let's get this video started off right. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. Haven't done one of these videos in a while, so I got a lot of stuff to get off my chest. I'm going to need you to chime in. Again, continue to like. If you are new, continue to subscribe. Grow with us. I do appreciate each and every one of you. All right. So here's the deal. Epidemic, starting pitchers, injuries to the starting pitcher. It just seems like there's such a high risk. I mean, we have Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas injured in our pitching staff. So we have 40% of our rotation down. You have the Yankees, Luis Gil and Gerrit Cole, 40% of their rotation is down. Would I be surprised if Kodai Senga gets hurt or David Peterson? No, I wouldn't. I mean, so if you look at the way baseball teams are being built, an injury to a guy like Gerrit Cole makes David Stearns look that much better. Why? Because he is building a team differently, a team that is not so reliant on these mega starting pitchers. These guys, like a couple years ago, we were relying on DeGrom. We were too reliant on Scherzer, too reliant on Verlander. So reliant that if these guys didn't succeed, the season would be doomed. The Yankees have not altered their approach. In fact, they doubled down in the last couple of years. Gerrit Cole, all right, let's get Carlos Rodon. Oh, that's not good enough. Let's get Max Fried. Let's double down on these ridiculous long-term contracts where if you sign a guy to 8 years, you're guaranteed to lose a guy for 2 or 3 of those years. I mean, maybe even more. Cole's been hurt already. Out of the 9-year contract, he's already been injured for more than a year. Now, folks, would I be surprised if you don't see him for the next 2 years if it is Tommy John? No. So he's got 4 years left on his contract. 2 of them are already almost kaput. You're not going to see the Gerrit Cole that you want to see. In fact, this is coming at an age of 35 and 36, meaning you may never, ever see Gerrit Cole at that elite level ever again. Ever again. So, I mean, when you are a general manager and you are a president, you have to think differently this day and age. So anybody right now who's still upset that David Stearns didn't pay the moon, the stars, the sky, and give a ridiculous contract to any starting pitcher, you gotta think twice. There's so much risk involved to paying a ridiculous amount to a starting pitcher. In my opinion, I'm trying to look toward the future, right? Gerrit Cole gets injured, Sean Manaea gets injured. All these top echelon pitchers get injured. Sandy Alcantara's coming back from Tommy John. All these great aces. Jacob deGrom has had injuries galore in the last couple of years. Folks, all these guys have to worry about when is their next injury. It's sad to say. So what do? You make sure that your team is risk adverse. The Mets didn't spend as much money in the starting rotation as the Yankees, and yet their payroll is higher. So the percentage of their total payroll that they have allocated toward their starting pitchers is far less than the New York Yankees have allocated to their starting pitchers. So that is just a bad strategy. The New York Mets have depth in their starting rotation. They are non-reliant in one pitcher, two pitchers, three pitchers, four pitchers. I mean, they can have an injury to Kodai Senga, and would it stink? Would it suck? But it still wouldn't be season ending because of the way the New York Mets are structured and set up. The Yankees right now, I'm not going to say, let's just say let's go to the crap meter, right? The old crap meter, out of a 10, 10 being season over, I'm going to say the Gerrit Cole injury is a 7. Is a 7. I know that's their ace, but you know what? In the last couple of years, I said they got Rodon. I said they got what's it called? Max Fried. They have been preparing for Gerrit Cole getting older in the last couple of years. So they've gotten a couple extra guys. The problem is they don't have much depth. They don't have much behind that. I mean, they could be relying on Cookie Carrasco in their starting rotation. Cookie Carrasco. I was surprised he was still a major leaguer. I'm like, oh, Cookie's still playing? Good for him, but it's a guy I wouldn't want in my rotation as an over $300 million payroll and a team competing for the World Series. So that is not good. That is not good. The Mets, wherein, we have options. Urena, we just signed. Griffin Canning. Okay, Tyler McGill. I mean, the Yankees would love a guy like Tyler McGill. They love him. And then we got the younger guys, the Sproats, the Tidwells. I mean, we got guys. We have depth. You got to give Stearns credit for that. And then, if we needed to convert a Boodle to the starting rotation, we have options. Wouldn't it, and then also the creativity. Brian Cashman had a guy like Clay Holmes on his team. Clay Holmes is looking like the next version of the next great pitcher. I mean, 9 innings already. The guy's got 14 strikeouts in like 9 or 10 innings. I mean, the guy looks like a breath of fresh air, exercising all of his pitches, and it just, I love what I see, but even more that I love the fact that this guy's going to be here for at least 2 years at a ridiculous 13, I think he's making 13, 14 million around that. And the Yankees could have, if they were a little creative, they could have paid him that same price, which is $4 million less than Marcus Stroman. And how times and how the thought process changes in 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, the Yankees were pumping their chest out saying, oh, we might be looking to trade Stroman. Oh, no, Stroman is your number 3 starter. So, you know what, folks? That's just baseball these days. That is just baseball. You cannot allocate so much of your starting of your total payroll to the starting rotation, because one day it's fine, the next day could be done. So I mean, you know what? Give David Stearns, his credit right now, because right now he is building the team, and the Mets and Yankees essentially have very similar situations. And we're going to get to the Francisco Alvarez injury momentarily, but just set it up right here. You have the Mets having 2 starting pitchers gone, plus one of the good offensive guys, almost same to the Yankees. I know the Yankees have, those players are a lot more important. You have Gerrit Cole, you have Luis Gil, and then you have Giancarlo Stanton, who is going to protect Judge. But the Mets are built a little differently. They are built to sustain injuries. I mean, Yankees, they have Aaron Judge injured. I mean, that would be a 10 on the crap scale. On the crap scale. All right, so now let's get to Francisco Alvarez. And I'm a little disappointed with this one. All right. So we all know a couple of days ago, Francisco Alvarez unfortunately has an injury. He does have an injury. Okay, so the deal with Alvarez is it looks like he's going to be sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks after he fractured the hamate bone in his left hand last week. So, what does this mean? Right off the bat, let's say on the oh crap scale, in my opinion, this is a 4. This is a 4. Alvarez was a guy that if he kicked it in gear, that would have been, I think, a very important X factor where I think the Mets could have been the number one offense in all of baseball, right? You don't have to be the number one offense, right? You really don't have to be. You can win with the number 2, number 3. But I did like other aspects about Alvarez. I like that pitchers love to throw to him. I love that he was great at catching a good game, good at framing balls, good at holding runners on base, and even every pitcher, it just seemed like they had a great relationship with Francisco Alvarez. That he had great chemistry amongst the clubhouse. The guy had a lot of intangibles that I just love to see, and I wanted to see him for a full season. That's what I wanted. He was injured in the beginning of last year. The first full season that he had, it seemed like he ran out of gas. So I'm still waiting for this guy to get a full, complete season. So, all right, folks, it's just not going to happen. It is just not going to happen. But the deal is we have Luis Torrens, and I think that's a pretty viable backup. And this guy gets an opportunity. He's a 28-year-old catcher, and Carlos Mendoza said he's a guy that does a really good job handling the pitching staff, just like Alvy, right? So he's got a lot of similar quick traits behind the plate, but he's got a little stronger arm, a little better at holding runners from stealing. He's got great leadership skills as well. He's a guy who can really, receive and throw behind the plate. He's got good quality. And then offensively, this guy can really give good at bats. He really can. Carlos Mendoza is very confident. He's a guy that, if a guy's throwing you out, pounding the ball on the outside part of the plate, he'll just go oppo. He's a smart hitter. I like what I see. Torrens excelled really in controlling the running game. He threw 13 out of 28 runners, which is 46.4% of would-be stealers last season. Very good. Very, very good. In fact, the MLB average for catchers was only 20%. So he more than doubled that. So defensively that this guy is going to be a really true asset for the New York Mets. Offensively, like I said, there is potential. Overall, he produced a 229 average, 292 on base, 373 slug with a slash line of 3 homers, 15 RBIs, and 130 plate appearances. It's a great opportunity for Torrens to actually get his footing. I mean, I really looked at it. In the last 7 years, Torrens hasn't really gotten much play. In his 7 years of being a big leaguer, I think he averages around 130 at bats. 130 at bats per season. Folks, he's going to get more than 130 ABs this year. In fact, the year when he had the most play was 2021. And look at this. This is quite impressive, folks. In 350 ABs, 350 ABs, so that's about half a season. He smoked 15 home runs, 47 RBIs, batted 243, on base 300, slug 431, OPS 730, and then plus he's pretty decent defensively. I mean, folks, that is not bad. If he has 400 ABs and he is at that pace, that he's gonna have 20 home runs, 60 RBIs. That's going to be a pretty nice season for Luis Torrens. Folks, that's why on the old crap meter, even though I really wanted Alvarez to get his footing because I know what type of ceiling this guy has, I just don't think that we're going to really get killed by this injury. So great for that. But at the end of the day, with the Mets, it is big picture. I do expect David Stearns to continue to work the phone. So the backup options, I mean, not great. Obviously, not great. If there were great options for the catcher's position right now, they'd have a job. You have free agent catchers like James McCann, Yasmani Grandal, but Andy Martino, he recommended Tomas Nido for the New York Mets. And the reason why he recommended Nido, I would say probably makes sense. I mean, it definitely does make sense. I mean, James McCann, I don't think we're ever gonna want him back. Yasmani Grandal, you need these guys, these catchers on a Mets. The way they're set up, the Mets right now are employing a culture, a system, right? So into that culture, in that system of the bullpen type of games and this and that, and the pitchers being really the biggest important part of the game. Obviously, pitching. In this type of system, the receiver, the catcher is ultra important. And his relationship with the pitching and the pitching staff is important. So that is what Andy Martino suggested. He says that Nido would be preferred. Tomas Nido would be preferred because he already has existing relationships with the New York Mets pitchers. And if it's only a stopgap situation where he's not starting most of the time, but he is supplementing games and backing up Torrens, it makes sense to go out and get a guy like Tomas Nido, who he doesn't need time to get to learn the staff. I mean, by the time like another alt catcher, if you brought him in, by the time he learns the pitching staff, Alvarez will be back already. So that would probably just be a waste of resources and a waste of time. So I do like that point. I do think it does make sense. Let me know what you think. Would you try to get another backup? Let me know. What is your oh crap meter? What do you think it is? For me, I'm thinking it's a 4 out of 10. 10 being, oh no, the season is doomed. 0 being not a big deal. I think it's about a 4. I think it's about a 4. All right. So let's kind of talk more deeply about. I would say the a lot of Mets fans have been worried about like that prototypical ace, right? But baseball's been funny. Like I said, if you're one that believes that it's an epidemic, that these guys, these starting pitchers it's just a matter of time before they get injured. How much value can a starting pitcher actually have? I mean, a couple years ago, we saw Max Scherzer, we saw Justin Verlander get those $43 million a year. And, that was, the most money that a starting pitcher ever got. It was a limited term, but I think we're going to see a lot more risk assessed with these contracts. So, a guy like Gerrit Cole getting hurt, is that beneficial to a guy like Dylan Cease? Is it beneficial? I mean, he may get traded for. I mean, here's the thing. I think the more guys that get hurt, the more scared GMs and presidents get. So, are you going to give up more prospects for a Dylan Cease now? Or are you going to give up less? So if you're the Yankees, if you're the Mets, right now, you have Sherman injured. If you're the New York Yankees, you have Gerrit Cole injured. Are you more willing to give up a better prospect? Because now it's going to cost more money, folks. It's going to cost more money. This is what I predicted. If you go to listen to my videos in early February, I said if you're the New York Mets and you want to trade for one of those top echelon aces, if you want to get a Dylan Cease, you go right now because in a couple months, there could be a team like the Yankees who are willing to pay an arm and a leg to save their season. And I think the Yankees are going to have to go down that road. They certainly have to explore that road because they are all in, folks. They spent a large sum of money this offseason. Yes, they didn't get Juan Soto, and that Juan Soto trade is looking worse and worse. But the Mets could have had their chance. But the Mets philosophy is a bit different. So as time went on, all right, I understood why the Mets were kind of holding back. All right. So the price might appear to be higher, but here's my perspective. My perspective is if you are a team looking for Dylan Cease, because of the injury of Gerrit Cole and the injury of other starting pitchers, the injury to Luis Gil, his value, Dylan Cease, I think, just went down. Just went down. Because it shows you in an instant, right? An instant, you can give up your best two prospects in the system. This guy, Dylan Cease, throws his arm out at the end of April. You're investing the payroll in him, and you're also investing prospects, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. It is very fleeting. And if you are Scott Boras, folks, do you think all these injuries are hurting Dylan Cease's chances of getting a mega contract? Because, folks, I think there's no doubt. I think baseball, it takes a couple years. It lags. You'll see two or three teams or, a handful of teams adopted a philosophy. And then you'll see MLB as a whole adopt a philosophy. And I think we're going to see starting pitchers, these contracts, the Gerrit Cole contract, 9-year, $336 million. I don't know if you will ever see that contract for a pitcher again. But the trend, you have been seeing hitters, if you have the ability to hit, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you do have the opportunity to get those type of contracts. Why? Because you have the opportunity and you have the ability to affect a game 162 times a year. You can be in the game. If you are Francisco Lindor, if you are Juan Soto, if you are Shohei Ohtani, you can affect the outcome of a ball game every single instant. A starting pitcher already has that limited window to affect around 30 games a year. And then if they're injured for half the year, way less than that. So there's so much risk. And like I said, I think these injuries, I don't think they raise the values of the remaining free agents. I mean, not free agents, the pitchers on the market. I think it only causes more hesitation in the minds of a president or a GM. And a guy like Sandy Alcantara, who is coming back from Tommy John, and his value was supposedly going through the roof. I mean, that's a guy, and I had a video on him a couple days ago, and I'll tell you this, that's a guy I'd love to see on the Mets. And I'll tell you what's the one way I think he can end up on the Mets. That is if he is healthy, number one, but if he struggles mightily. So if the Mets see, hey, Sandy's got 100-mile-per-hour fastball, he's got, everything is going for him, right? He's healthy. But the thing is, for some reason, it's just not clicking. That is what Mets fans, in my opinions, have to hope for. Because I think you can get Sandy Alcantara at a very reasonable price. And it is very reasonable to expect Sandy Alcantara to struggle. And what do I mean? I don't mean his stuff. I mean, his stuff will be here, but it sometimes takes time for pitchers to be able to locate like they want to. But, that is the situation I think would be optimal to the New York Mets. And then as the contract dwindles down, Sandy Alcantara has a guaranteed contract for this year and 2026. So if once it goes from 2 years to a year and a half to 1 year, then the Marlins, obviously, their return value goes, ooh. So, that's the situation I think you got to hope for a New York Mets fan. If you want a guy like Sandy Alcantara, hope he doesn't do that well right now, and hope the New York Mets could somehow put a value package together for him. All right, folks. A lot of stuff. I think a lot of good stuff going on. I like what I see. Clay Holmes, great, looking great. Juan Soto, I mean, the guy's looking like a beast. He's looking like a complete beast in spring training. it's only spring training, folks, but you got to like what you see. You really got to like what you see. And, the landscape of baseball is very funny these days. A month ago, the Yankees were the best team in the American League. And now people are saying they might not be able to make the playoffs. So the way in which you build a team is very important. And that is why a guy like David Stearns, a guy who didn't invest mega bucks in the starting rotation, has to actually be praised right now, because those decisions are actually coming back to bite a Brian Cashman. Those decisions have bit the LA Dodgers front office in the past. In the Mets are making their team injury resilient, injury proof. Yeah, of course, if they lose Lindor, Soto, it's going to be hard to come back from that. But, folks, you saw when the Mets last year lost Lindor in the most crucial time, they were able to still win down the stretch last year. So that's what I also, I keep going back to with the Mets. It's more than just the players. It's a system. It's a culture. And the Mets, that's where they deserve ultimate credit. And, David Stearns, he is the guy leading the ship. So that's where I'm going to end it right now. What do you think, folks? And if right now at this point, if you're a Mets Yankees fan, let me know, how do you feel about your current situation? As a Mets fan, I feel good. Our injured guys are coming back. But we also have viable backup options. And that's what I think good teams need, because you cannot afford to lose ground. No matter how long Manaea is out, no matter how long Francisco Alvarez is out, the next guy has to be able to produce as well. I mean, and that's why I think the Mets are, like I said, the only guy you can't really, there's no reproducing their sting is Juan Soto. You're losing Juan Soto. And the Yankees, I think, made a lot of decisions in the last couple of years to go all in, and it's coming back to bite them. And I've said this. If you go back to my videos, I even said last year, they are going all in, and, it's eventually going to come back to bite them. And I think you're seeing it right now. And, there was no hiding the fact you knew Gerrit Cole was aging. You knew that he had injury issues last year. I'm not a doctor, but, he had an injury history before last year, and then he had the nerve issue last year. He was out half the season. So he was a guy that you had to handle with kid gloves, but he was also a guy that had 5 years left on the contract. 4 years now, going to be 35 years old. Not looking good. Not looking good. All right, folks. Again, like, comment, let me know what you think. Haven't said hello in a while, so hey, hello everyone. I do appreciate everyone. You know that. I will talk to everyone soon. Have a great day, folks.